Markets, consumers, everyone's retirement funds, and, if you can believe it, politicians are bracing for the fallout as the second round of President Trump's tariffs goes into effect today. About 60 countries are facing higher charges on their imports.
China will pay the highest price with a 104% surcharge on its goods, and that's sparking concerns of a trade war. George Thomas has the details.
China says it will take resolute and forceful measures to counter the Trump administration's latest round on tariffs, announcing today that it's imposing an 84% tariff on U.S. goods. The White House said the sweeping tariffs are designed to open negotiations with America's trading partners.
The president's message has been simple and consistent from the beginning. To countries around the world, bring us your best offers, and he will listen.
Stocks across Asia and Europe saw significant losses as the new round took effect. Wall Street continues to also take a hit, edging closer to bear market territory.
That doesn't occur every day and is a sign of distress in the market.
The nation's top trade representative faced the Senate's Finance Committee on Tuesday, where lawmakers from both sides expressed concern over the impact on America's 401ks.
He said the president's strategy is already bearing fruit. I can tell you for a lot of Oregonians who have 401ks that are being drained out, that's pretty rotten stuff.
Senator Thom Tillis, a Republican from North Carolina, questioned who in the administration would be held accountable if the tariffs fail and Americans suffer.
If you own this decision, then I'll look to you to figure out if we're going to be successful. If you don't own the decision, I'm just trying to figure out whose throat I get to choke if it's wrong.
Despite concerns, President Trump maintains that the tariffs are achieving results with nearly 70 countries lined up for negotiations.
I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals. Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here.
However, as the trade war intensifies, Americans can expect to pay more for groceries, clothing, and household items in the near future.
We're not talking about months away or even quarters away. In some goods, automobiles could be one of those. You could be talking about weeks away.
Shoppers are already starting to stockpile goods.
Consumers are uncertain, just like the business environment is right now. So they're uncertain about where prices are going to move. And so they'd rather buy goods and services at the prices that they can see now, rather than the unknown prices that could happen in the future.
As trade tensions rise, the true impact of these tariffs will become clearer in the coming weeks. George Thomas, CBN News.
Well, CBN's White House correspondent Kelly Wright joins us now for more. So, Kelly, despite doubts from Congress and what we're seeing is turmoil in the market, the president says the tariffs are already working. What does he mean?
Well, Gordon, let's get right to what the president had to say about what he means with the tariffs already working. Last night, he spoke to congressional Republicans at the NRCC event here in Washington, D.C., and he doubled down on the tariffs and stated the reasons why is because tariffs are already making money for the United States. Let's watch and listen to what he had to say.
We're making a fortune with tariffs, $2 billion a day. Do you believe it? I was told $2 billion a day. You know, I get hit by the press about tariffs. We're making $2 billion. This isn't 35 million, that's peanuts. $2 billion a day. In addition, we have a lot of countries coming to see us that want to make a deal.
And so the president is holding on to that and holding the line that the tariff strategy that he's implemented is indeed working. What's unclear, however, is the market reaction to making $2 billion a day, as he talked about. The markets are still very uncertain. As you know, Gordon, people in Main Street are uncertain. And some people are even whispering the word, could we face a global economic meltdown and possibly a global recession if we don't have certainty brought to the market? And they're counting on President Trump to bring that certainty and clarity about his tariff plans. Gordon?
Well, I'm hearing a lot of calls that there's a recession coming. A lot of Wall Street banks are predicting it, some as high as 60%. The highest I've seen is an 80% prediction out of an economist here in Virginia. And it just seems that if this is going to trigger some kind of recession, is Congress going to be forced to get involved? And is this going to create some kind of rift in the Republican Party?
Yeah, that's a good question. And already we're seeing some of the signs of that. You go back to what George was reporting about in his story, where you can see some Republicans are now speaking out against this, saying who's going to be responsible if this plan, this tariff plan that the president has implemented, fails? Who within the Trump administration will be accountable and responsible for the possible failure? Now, seeing that the Republicans are getting a little skittish about this, a little jittery, there are some Republicans who are trying to implement some action. Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska has introduced a bill that would actually put Congress in place of controlling the tariffs, having a 60-day tariff, and then having the possibility of eliminating that altogether. That would go against the president and actually Congress performing the duties that it should be doing. The president all along has stated that Congress should have done this a long time ago and that presidents in the past should have done this a long time ago. But here's the bottom line. Some Republicans, at least a dozen, are standing with Don Bacon. Again, House Speaker Mike Johnson, as well as Senate Majority Leader John Thune, are stating that you have to allow this president to see if the tariffs will go through, to hold the line. John Thune saying, yes, it's consequential what's going on. He even stated that he knew the markets would be hit and he knew that the people would be hit. But he is holding the line as the Senate Majority Leader, and Mike Johnson as the House Speaker, stating that give the president a chance for these tariffs to go through and see how it will all fall out.
All right, well, let's turn to foreign policy and specifically Gaza and Hamas. The president spoke at a dinner for congressional Republicans last night. A group of the hostages freed from Gaza were there. What did they say and what was the reaction?
You know, you and I talked about this just yesterday, about the president's sensitivity and compassion for the hostages. And so last night, it was no surprise to see him call those hostages for it. One was Aviva Siegel, who was a former hostage, and she talked about her husband, Keith Siegel. Here's what she said when the president called her for it to speak to the Republicans in the House.
Thank you, President Trump, for bringing my Keith home. Keith's grandchildren are the happiest. Keith's children are the happiest. Keith's family is the happiest. But I am the most happiest. Thank you so much.
Gordon, it's so emotional to see these hostages, these former hostages, coming forward and thanking the President of the United States. Some of them have gone so far as to say that without President Trump coming on the scene, they don't think their freedom would have been possible. And they're telling this president privately and publicly that he is the person who can help lead the other 59 hostages still being held in captivity out of that captivity by being strong and being diligent in talking about their efforts in getting rid of Hamas and getting those hostages released. Very emotional moment there.
Well, Kelly Wright, thanks for joining us. We'll continue to pray for the release of all the remaining hostages and pray that Hamas sees the light and can lay down its arms and say, we can't be in charge of Gaza anymore. We have to surrender.
Are miracles real? Let's investigate.
A lot of skeptics will say, well, miracles are impossible. Why? Because they violate the laws of nature. You can't violate the laws of nature.
I looked at my hand that was clutched. I said, hand move.
We got to 21-25.
Hallelujah! He's dead. It's over. I said, shock him one more time.